Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, currently featuring Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, Miraculous Ladybug, Star Wars Rebels, Ruby, and Adventure Time. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Delaney Stovall.
Hello.
Today, Delaney and I will be discussing the latest episode of Steven Universe, Message Received, what was probably the mid-season finale for Season 2 of Steven Universe, the Thursday episode in this week's Steven Bomb. We cover Steven Universe every new episode here at the Overly Animated Podcast, and you can check us out at overlyanimated.com. Delaney, we have to get right into the spoilers. Big spoilers coming up.
Spoilers!
Yeah, let's talk about Message Received. We were talking about it yesterday. What was going to happen with Peridot's redemption arc, and it turns out we get the Parademption trademark.
Parademption.
What did you think? What did you think of the Parademption? That was from AV Club, actually. What did you think of the Parademption?
It was so great. Oh my god! Like they got me. They got me so good, so good, and it makes sense.
Did you think? Did you think it was? They were going the other way on that?
Like, I mean, when we were talking, I thought there was a pretty decent chance that this was going to happen, but it didn't happen the way I thought it was going to happen.
Expand upon it. Yeah, no, I agree. It's like yesterday it was like, okay, they're spending so much time with Peridot. Obviously, like this isn't where I originally thought where we were going was Peridot was just gonna betray the crystal gems and go back to the homeworld, but it was obviously weren't going there because they're spending too much time with Peridot, right? But it's like, okay, basically for the reasons stated in this episode, that wasn't going to make sense because Peridot's always thought her function was, to serve Yellow Diamond. So how they subverted in this episode is just fascinating.
Like, it's so great, and it's not out of, like, they didn't force it. Like, Peridot's logic makes sense given Peridot's character, what we've seen from Peridot, and it's just, and it's clearly not an easy thing for Peridot either. Like, this was just delivered in such a great way. Because I think we had this conversation yesterday about this might be a little, like I didn't think it was going to be hard to sell, but you seemed a little bit more iffy, and you were convinced that she was like, this wasn't going to happen. Like, it was going to be a betrayal.
Originally, yeah. No, well, I mean, yesterday I was like, okay, she's not a betrayal, right? But I didn't envision, I couldn't think of it happening in this way. It's so kind of brilliant.
I am shocked that they tried to trick us too, because they clearly, like, you weren't going to figure this out. Like, you weren't going to be like, yeah, Peridot's going to trick Yellow Diamond. Like, no, like, no one thought that.
It's like, so okay, so like, I mean, we also have the two big stories here. We see Yellow Diamond and let's like Peridot's redemption, but I'm more concerned with the Parademption, obviously.
Parademption.
Yeah, the Parademption. And okay, so here's the deal. Peridot, like, the answer is such a big episode because like we figure out gems don't have this individuality on the homeworld, and their like function is to do like a certain thing and serve a diamond, right? That's kind of what we've been building up to the past 5 episodes, and it's like, okay, Peridot's just not gonna like instantly be like okay with going against the person who she's created to serve, and this episode starts with that point, and it's great, and it's like it's not taking that for granted, and then it's like as Garnet says in this episode, Peridot was trying to reason with her. And the one thing that's kind of been reinforced this entire time is that throughout Peridot's arc here is that Peridot is like sees herself as supremely rational, if nothing else, and just she seems to have this realization when talking to Yellow Diamond that her, like her creator or whatever is not actually the supreme rational being in the universe. And it's just incredibly fascinating to watch play out. Like I can't think of a story I've seen like come from this angle before, where, I mean, I'm sure there has been because everything's been written already, but like it's just I can relate to this so much. And then Peridot in the car is like, her description of why Yellow Diamond's so great is striking. And we kind of been sitting on this intro clip, the most reasonable, the most rational, efficient decider ever to exist in the universe. And she's like, okay, there's another element to this, but she's like, okay, if that's true, then my logic here, which is seemingly objectively right, should play out for her. And Yellow Diamond not only just rejects her logic, she's like, no, we're just going to do what I want, right? She doesn't even have much behind it.
I think this is a subversion, like, of, because typically it's with the exception of Spock, but generally Spock also goes through things like this where, and of course Spock is half human, that the whole idea of being completely rational a lot of times in film and books is seen as not good. Like it's seen as like you can't be that way. You have to acknowledge emotion in some way, and that's usually like a plot point, and like how, and it's always ration versus emotion, like being rational versus being emotional, and letting your passions drive you. And here we have, it's reversed. Like it's a completely rational, like paradox would like completely rational being encountering like a fault in, like it's typically the other way.
So
Like
okay, yeah,
it's
yeah. So what you're like usually people in our society are like it's hard to being objectively rational is not something that a lot of people like take kind to, right? And people like legitimize their emotions and stuff like that. And it seems like that's where we're going with this is that it's just going to be like in the beginning of the episode paradox like you all are just emotional and I'm the most rational and that's why like I'm right on this and I need to go back to London. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is working. As someone who considers himself very rational and like thinks that's a very important quality in just everything. It's I was like, oh my goodness, what are we doing with this? And then it's like, no, it's just that it to his I think it's true to a certain extent that Yellow Diamond was like being the emotional one, but also I think more importantly we're just not Peridot's like rationalism is not like the thing that is it's 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 like not it's not demonized and it's not like the end all be all. It's just
Peridot encountered a prejudice that she didn't realize existed,
yeah,
that the
right.
diamonds have for Earth, and that the crystal that the that gems that Homeworld has for Earth.
Yeah,
And,
it's she sees something she didn't see before, and it's like why is she capable of seeing this, right? So that's the big element I want to talk about, which is that this only happens through Peridot's individuality, which he's kind of slowly gained this entire time. Um,
well, it's like
like
that whole part when it's Peridot reporting which one, and like Peridot's like hesitation, like that moment of like, oh, that part was really good. Like,
yeah, well, okay, well, yeah, we're over through everything. Like, but like, I feel like Peridot wouldn't have been capable of this type of thing. Like, the only reason she's able to question Yellow Diamond is because she thinks she's a person now. This Peridot
yeah,
thinks she's herself as a person.
yeah.
That's kind of the thing that we take for granted here. But and I don't know if it necessarily played like this originally, but because we're only seeing one of her, but like in gems and the sense we get from the answers that just don't have this sense um of self individuality and like differentiation between the rest of their kind and
Well, that's what's
between
really
what they're
interesting
created
is
for.
because she never would have done this if Peridot hadn't been exposed to actually having emotions and dancing and singing and like being a crystal gem. She never would have like thought about this, and it's just so funny. Like this,
Yeah, it's like she's not even well it's like yeah there's a lot of elements here where her experience with the crystal gems have comes into play in this. It's like
like it's
original.
really come full circle, and this is that moment
It
of
is, yeah. It's she wouldn't have even been capable of questioning Yellow Diamond first of all, which is what she's doing here. She's like, okay, I've. It's like her logic is like, okay, I know this is right, so I can, and Yellow Diamond always is right. Therefore, Yellow Diamond will agree with me, right? And that first part of it is completely new. I know this is right. Like she doesn't like
right.
several weeks ago she wouldn't have had a concept of that. But now the rest of it is it's like this new set part of her combining that with her previous biases which of course still are ingrained in her and she combines that in order to like I didn't yeah it's just such a brilliant device having her like question Yellow Diamond like this and like assume she's going to go along with it. And I think it just makes complete sense for where her character is. I'm very impressed because I could not have envisioned a scenario where this would happen and it would feel so satisfying that Peridot becomes a crystal gem, basically.
Right, like it's there was like there was really no way to predict this exact outcome. Like we were like she's gonna contact Yellow Diamond, and like we knew that, but we didn't. Like I don't think anyone really could have seen it playing out this way and it being so perfect that there's no, like it's not even, oh, you can't say Peridot was out of character. You can't say this doesn't make sense. Like it makes perfect sense given everything we've seen from Peridot and who Peridot is.
Yes, and
and
like
who Peridot has become.
more about what I was talking about before as I'm gathering my thoughts. Like she's part of her individuality are her emotions that come from being along with the crystal gems, and she has
Yeah,
a sense that Earth is important. She has a sense that like art exists and like friends and like stuff like that. And it's not just that she's completely objective, and Yellow Diamond I think is the
right.
emotional one. It's that Peridot has a new facet to her objectiveness and her rationality, right? She's like all humans do, incorporates her humanity into her new gained humanity, which is like not like a proper term for her because she's not a human, but it's like her new gains like individuality and pairing that with like sense of emotions and stuff like that and everything that comes with being an individual, and that paired with her that like blends into her pure objective rationality. Um, so she tries to present that to Yellow Diamond, and like it's not only that Yellow Diamond rejects that because that would make sense because Yellow Diamond doesn't have that in that.
Right.
Well, it's interesting. Like, are the diamonds individuals? But Yellow Diamond at least wouldn't have the like sense of emotions and good feelings about Earth and stuff.
Well,
So
and apparently the diamonds can make decisions like they
it,
don't
it does seem
like they
like
don't have
yeah,
to work together. Like it's just the
we were
diamonds.
talking about this yesterday, but it's like is the highest ranking Dalek like actually making decisions, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of fascinating to think about it like that. But regardless of that, not only does Yellow Diamond reject Peridot's like logic on this, and if Yellow Diamond stopped there, it's possible Peridot would have still like went along with her. Or it's like she would have just. It's like everything she was saying was fine. Maybe she just would have accepted her next assignment, right?
Yeah.
But then Yellow Diamond's like, no, I'm right because I'm right. Like she kind of just
Yeah.
says that, and Peridot that just is gonna break. And saying that to any other gem that doesn't have a sense of individuality would be fine because even though that gem might know that. Like if they thought about it, that doesn't make rational sense, but their sense of rationality is diamonds are right, so they would have just accepted it. But Peridot here is now an individual, and she like is clearly capable of seeing the absurdity of that statement.
Yep.
And like it's such a miscue from Yellow Diamond because she doesn't she wouldn't she, there's no concept that Peridot might develop like a sense of being her own person.
Yeah,
Like
like that Peridot could even think to question her. I mean, the fact that all this happened is so alien to Yellow Diamond because like Peridot went completely against all the rules. Like she contacted her on like the special Yellow Diamond channel and she's just a Peridot. Like it's not because clearly Peridots are not highly ranking gems. Like she's a
yeah,
tech.
yeah. We get more of a sense of that really than ever in this episode. We
Yeah.
hear her like code or whatever, her
Yeah.
her
Like
assigned
which
number.
one?
Which Peridot, yeah. Um and it's like you wonder whether Yellow Diamond should have anticipated something like this because she knows about the crystal gems on Earth,
She didn't ask about the crystal gems, which shocked me.
which I think kind of reinforces a few things which people have been thinking. One, I think this shows that the crystal gems are still really not that important to the
Yeah,
homeworld.
they're not.
They're just like a blip on a giant radar, which we kind
Yeah.
of already knew because
Because
they've
like
been
they had
ignoring
the war and
Earth
the
for
war's
so long,
over.
right? Yeah, like
Yeah.
they just don't care anymore. It's not important enough to them. So
And the
it's
cluster now, which explains everything. Like it's not going to be a problem anymore.
yeah, it's like, oh, we made the cluster, it's fine now. And so like maybe she forgot about them, but gems can't forget, I don't think. So
Yeah.
I also think this maybe tells us that it was Blue Diamond who knew about this. She was the one who was assigned to Earth and not Yellow Diamond.
Yeah.
Maybe there's segmented maybe it's really not just they communicate a lot. It's just they just deal with their own things and
No,
don't stop saying.
that's what I was talking about a minute ago, was that like it was really odd to me that like clearly the diamond like because first they describe it, as the hero of the matriarchs. And typically you would assume it's kind of like a council thing. That's clearly not what it is. That the diamonds are separate, they have their own autonomy, and they can like do like they're in charge of their stuff and like they don't really communicate with the other diamonds. Like Peridot doesn't really talk about the other diamonds. She just talks about her diamond, Yellow Diamond. And so it must mean and then Pearl says not all pearls know each other, which would indicate that you're like you belong to your diamond and like you don't really interact with other diamonds.
That was a very subtle line, right? Yeah, there's
Yeah.
that line was doing a lot, right? It did what you said, and it's also just like playing off of, like not all blanks know each other. Like people say that
Yeah.
in our side, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and it was played for humor too. It did a lot of things, right? So, but yeah, this episode has subtle world building in that it's kind of like confirms that Gem Society is segmented, based off of the four diamonds. Presumably four.
Yeah,
I could.
I think it's like when they were on the moon, there were four. Like it's blue. It's it's
It's
blue, yellow.
blue, yellow, white, pink. But
Yeah,
like that was also a while ago, so it's possible things are different
yeah,
now.
yeah. Well, we've only seen blue and yellow diamond.
Yeah, there's theories like so. There's of course the theories that Rose is pink diamond, so that would
Well,
explain.
I saw a theory today that they killed Pink Diamond.
I've also seen a theory that they have white diamonds bubbled in their temple, right? Um,
Yeah,
which I don't think is true, but that it's like we have until we see those two, then
yeah,
we also haven't seen current blue diamond.
right. And
This is
it's
the first.
very
That's a big
interesting.
thing. This is the first diamond we've seen in modern times, right?
Yeah, and in person, like yeah, we saw Blue Diamond, but like you can't see Blue Diamond's face anyway.
Yeah, and it's like not only does this episode kind of brilliantly builds up Yellow Diamond's presence because at first he's just in a small thing in the communicator, and then eventually we cut to her perspective. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, no, that
You
was
were
awesome.
on Homeworld for a second in this episode,
Yeah, for like whole like half a second we were
and
on
now it's
Homeworld. It
time
was
to
crazy.
analyze the background of that episode because it did not look
Yes,
like a
Diff.
familiar planet. I was trying to do
Also,
that.
Diamond is huge.
I was
She's
also she
massive.
did seem pretty massive. I was trying to like figure out it is too hard to focus on what she was saying and like what's her background was
Yeah,
like the background behind. I don't think it looked like Earth, which is what I was looking for.
yeah.
Um, alternate Earth this would be, but so that's the next big thing we need to talk about because I think so we've covered the brilliance of Parademption for at least initially.
Parademtion A plus.
Redemption A plus. Yeah, I was highly impressed. What do you think of Yellow Diamond? What we saw her in this episode? I don't know her voice yet. I'm frantically looking for a voice actress while I'm watching this. We record this right after the episode,
Yeah,
but
like
just what struck me about her voice to start off the conversation on this, just how like they said gem matriarchs last episode, but like her voice just seems so matriarchal. Like I don't know if
yeah.
that's like that makes sense, but
Well, like authoritarian. Like she is an authority,
it
clearly.
was like an authority, and it was also just like not like a young voice, like not necessarily an old voice, but like like clearly a
Well,
um
it's like
it's what we would expect a female authority figure to sound like on our world almost.
well, it's like at first, like when she's like just hand it here, it kind of like it obviously it doesn't sound like Garnet, but it's like how Garnet talks. Like it's if because at first you're like, okay, maybe Yellow Diamond's kind of chill. Like maybe she's all right. And like because Garnet like the way Garnet is played is very, you know, Garnet is like you don't mess with Garnet ever.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
she'll mess you up, but
yeah. I
like
know what you mean.
Garnet's the
Yeah,
sweetest. But that like that's how this is how Yellow Diamond comes off, and it's very interesting. And like because at first she's like just hand it here, because that pearl was rude, rude, and then like it just because if like I kind of love Yellow Diamond. Like clearly she's not good, but I love her.
yeah.
Like
I mean, the sense of the diamond was she was. It was there's so much unknown with that. Like the
yeah,
arrogance is one of the main things you take away from
oh yeah,
that. It's just
yes.
she's like I want Earth gone because that I want I don't I'm trying to look for the exact quote.
And then she
Um,
says organic life,
she did
which
say
also
organic life, yeah.
which one like we already knew that basically, but like and then also it kind of we were talking about this yesterday. I brought up like do they do this often? Clearly they don't like organic life. Like organic life is lesser than us. We are higher
Okay,
beings.
let's talk about the definition of organic life before I go on a victory lap here. But
Yeah.
does organic life mean natural life? Are those synonymous terms?
Like in
Because
in the sense like in the non-scientific sense, yes.
there's a
But the
lot of
thing
definitions for this word, right?
yeah, like organic life is how we refer to it because we don't know we don't understand any life that isn't organic life. Like we have yet to meet life that isn't organic life. So
Let's
all of our context of life is organic. So like it's just life as we know it. Carbon-based life, like however you want to talk about it.
Is organic mean carbon based?
It can and cannot also at the same time. Like it's like organic is more of like a more all-encompassing term, but like because life has there are like seven like I'm not going to go into detail. There are seven like things that you have to have for it to be life. Like you have to have these seven things to be considered life.
There's like a
And
lot of, I think there's like a lot of definitions, right? Let's like
there are like
one definition of organic would be, I'm seeing a compound that contains carbon, right? An
yeah,
organic compound.
but also we've had to adjust that. It's not just carbon specifically.
Hmm.
And because a lot of times when you say carbon-based life, it's not like 100%. Like you can have carbon and not be life.
Okay, like what? So you're the chemistry person. What, when we say carbon based, what's the intent behind classifying things as carbon based and maybe expanding that definition? Is it to capture life as we know it, or is it what's the intent behind having this term organic for carbon based things?
Well, it's as life as we know it. So I'm gonna look it up real quick
This is complicated. Anyway, I don't think that we could. Yeah, I do want to get into details
because
of that.
there's the seven characteristics of life. They have to be composed of cells. They have different levels of organization. Living things use energy. Living things like I knew these, but I didn't want to like have a list, so I wasn't like sitting here thinking for 10 minutes. Living things respond to their environment. Living things grow. Living things reproduce, and living things adapt to their environment. Those are the seven requirements to be considered alive.
So
Like to be
there's okay.
life.
So there's two. The what clearly when Yellow Diamond says like yeah, organic life, like scoffingly, right, about humans.
Ugh.
Um, there's two there's two possibilities. It's like what it mean what that determines is that gems are not organic life. Which
Right.
we could already tell because they're not born. But that being said, there's two things. One, they're a different type of life, like in some really hard to understand concept that there is like natural life, but yet it's not organic, right?
Right.
Um,
And but
or
we think that they're constructed, but there's also the chance that they are a different form of life that we do
which is
not
it's impossible
understand.
to fathom. Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
it's it's just it's like I know that doesn't make sense, but like that's exactly
Well,
right.
that's like people who really study who like I'm sure people who watch like the stuff with Morgan Freeman and like talk and watching things on the Science Channel or Discovery, they talk about this a lot in talking about space and planet discovery and exploration that we look for life on other planets, but we only look for organic life because we cannot comprehend life beyond how we understand it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
we could have found life on Mars, but we don't know because we only understand organic life.
yeah.
Like we can only comprehend life as we know
Yeah.
it.
So,
So
so
that's what this
assuming
is.
that the show doesn't go for that, which it would be really hard to do, that'd
Well,
make
I
a
think
lot
they
of
could go
explanation.
for that, but they just wouldn't explain it.
It would just be real. Well, it's possible that this is their version of that by not.
Yeah, like they've established that it's not, they've established that the gems are not organic life,
So it's
which is a typical sci-fi trope, really.
well, but are there sci-fi things that have like non-robotic, non-organic life?
I'm trying to like,
I
because they
don't know.
do this a lot, where they're like organic life,
Because what
because
I'm
it's
trying to do here is claim victory on the gems being robots. That's what I'm
well,
trying to do here.
it's typically the way I'm more experienced with it, and this is how I took it, is that gems have a higher form of consciousness than humanity. That's or organic life. That's typically how they go with it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone watched or has read Arthur C. Clarke stuff. Like, that's a lot of like his stuff. And like that's typically what it is that you and I don't know if whatever and if anyone watched Childhood's End, that's basically what the ending of Childhood's End is that higher form of consciousness. That's what I would go for. I don't think they're robots, but
Well, okay.
you can
So
have the
do we
theory.
have any? I don't get the sense that they're like higherly conscious than humans. I've never gotten that sense from gems.
Well, the thing is, it's hard. That's also a hard thing for us to like
We
understand.
wouldn't be able to perceive it, right?
Yeah,
So,
like
yeah, this is all very. And so the show can't do that, though. I think
right.
that's what. So it's yeah, they're robots. Yeah, when you may like, oh, obviously they're not robots. They can think. Yeah, but like, they're artificial intelligence. Those are robots. That's what I mean. That type
Yeah,
of thing. They're Daleks are the same thing. They're the
yeah,
same on the same level as Daleks. They're an artificially created species. It doesn't make sense in terms of our world, but in the sci-fi trope, it makes sense. And like
yes.
confirmed, Dylan's right. Here we go. Okay, there we go. That's who is Patty Lapoon. Oh wow, really? Let me look up credits to remind myself who this is. But Yellow Diamond's voice actress. This is a famous person. Yes, music.
Woo!
That's interesting. We don't really have famous people on the show. Um, yeah, no, she's like a theater person, right? Yeah.
That makes sense. That tends to be the show's modus
Well,
operandi.
the show is quite a few theater people, but nobody's famous as Patty LaPoon, right? Okay, cool. So now we know the voice actors. She did sound familiar. So I don't even know what we're talking about. So yeah, the gems. We've learned a lot about the gems.
Yes.
They are in non-organic. We can say that with confirmation.
Which also makes sense, like looking at the seven characteristics of life listed, like the gems literally don't conform to any of those.
Yeah,
So
they are non-organic. Like what I forgot the line they used to like yesterday, but they try to conquer. The intent is to conquer worlds, right?
yeah,
Um,
they're a
some
conquering species.
Yeah, something that I think that I got caught up in yesterday is like the idea of them being like a world-eating species, and conquering doesn't necessarily mean like destroying, right?
Right.
So they could be the empire. You could classify the empire in Star Wars as like a conquering like
Yeah.
thing. Not yeah. So they could be that.
Yeah. Well, it seems like they do both. It seems to be like, which granted, the Empire does that too. Like, oh, we're mad at you. We're gonna blow up your planet,
Yeah.
and
I don't know
that's
if we
what.
have examples of them not killing off life forms on the planet though, because that's
Granted, we only have this
we
one
only have
example,
one example though. Yeah. Okay,
and
so overall, Yellow Diamond, like, I don't know. What's your theory on the diamonds? Because the big question to me, I don't know if it's the big question to anyone else, is like, how conscious are they? Because we now see that individual gems are capable of conscious, like human consciousness on that terms, like thinking for yourself, but do not as they function. So the question is, how much is Yellow Diamond conscious and thinking for herself, or how much is she just doing how she's programmed?
it's like I don't. I think it's. I mean, I see. I like part of it's hard because I do think there's someone above the diamonds because I think that's where we need to go. But I also don't want that to be the case because like that's always really irritating when they like introduce something new like that and it's like, oh great, a
So,
bigger bad.
like, okay, so here's how you do it: is you just say at some point the yellow diamonds were created by a super intelligent human speak
Yeah.
like line that has since died off. There's no creator that we have to introduce.
Yeah.
They are now the highest order. No one else is alive, but at some point they were created by like
Yeah.
super intelligent evolved.
That's I'm trying to think of like I know something that is basically that and I can't remember
Yeah,
what it
no,
is.
it is. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
been done for sure.
Yeah. Well, so
Um,
like in that case, which one that would be really interesting that we have literally an entire species and they're puppets. And that's basically they're just puppets. They just do like I can't remember the specific name of one of them, but there are these robots that are built in like the 18th century and they just do one thing and that's it over and over and over again. And that's basically what these are. Like they're automatons and they can only do one thing. And that's like what each of the and that's it really makes sense given that all of these gems are like they literally only do one thing, but there's so many different gems.
it's really hard for us to fathom how there could be like all these gems on this planet which only do one thing on the homeworld, but if put on Earth, are all it's seemingly like everyone is capable of developing a human
Yeah.
conscious. Because like we've had almost every case of that happening. So
Which
it's like
again would
that's
like
really
to
hard.
break the world.
Yeah. I mean, it's
And to
hard.
a certain extent, because some of them have actually, because the problem with Brave New World is that the lower you go, they actually can't do other stuff because like how they've been
Yeah, but
developed.
it's like not Peridot specialized in that, but she can do other things, right?
Yeah,
So it's hard to fathom, and I think maybe what the show is presenting is like human individuality is like individuality and consciousness as like a human thing that you need to like develop, talk to other people who have it to get, I guess. That being said,
I think it's about being like kind of like being pigeonholed. Like you do not like you might fit a role, but that doesn't mean that's the only thing you can do.
yeah. I mean, it's clear. It's pretty clear, like that. Our crystal gems do a ton of stuff, so they're not just doing what they're meant to do. But that being said, Yellow Diamond, I feel like I would argue is an individual. I think this episode is purposely portraying her as an individual with an individual consciousness
Well, I think it's
because
also hard though because in context of her being an authoritarian, like if everything she says goes, like there's no room for questioning it to know if like she's an individual or does that
yeah.
make sense? Granted, that's also how authoritarian things work. Like they're the individual and
So
everything
okay,
else
let me present my
puppets.
point in depth, and then I'll yeah we can explain the counterpoint, which I did understand what you're saying. So like what I'm saying is that this episode is gonna Yellow Diamond is clearly different from other gems. She's making a subjectively qualitative statement about the value of Earth. We would not have anyone else, and no other gem could say that without the kind of without like listening to their gem and just repeating it, without their diamond and just repeating it. But I don't care about potential and resources. I want my cluster and I want that planet to die. Just make it happen, she says. Like to me, this is exhibiting an opinion in a way that we
It's
have
what
not
she
seen
wants. Like
previously.
she's just like, I hate
She
Earth, get rid of it.
wants. So like I think that with the surface level interpretation of this episode is that diamonds are individuals in ways the other gems are not. Now, your counter argument was, um, however, if
I do agree with you, but I do think we have to consider that given like
so let's let me
context.
present the counterpoint, which is if the diamond's purpose is to be an authoritarian, it is possible that the exhibiting opinions like this is just her fulfilling her role in an authoritarian manner, and she's not actually an individual. She's still just doing what she was made to do.
It's
It's
also hard to
it seems
talk about.
impossible to take A from B without her being on Earth, right?
Yeah.
And debating with someone. It seems almost impossible to discern which is which. For all intents and purposes, for now, it is A, right? Like you
Yeah,
can't.
I do think she's an individual, and what this is going to boil down to is basically I would hope so. I really can see us this becoming the deconstruction of homeworld society because they're talking about these gyms who are made like they have to do one thing, like they have one purpose. They listen to the I'm air quoting. You can't see it. It's happening. Supremely rational and the perfect decision makers ever, and it's the diamonds. But really, the diamonds just do whatever they want because they're in charge. So like, it really boils down to it doesn't matter because like
Super high level, super high concepts philosophy talk here, but for a second, it needs to be noted that like everyone can be the most rational form that they can be if they have and be completely different if they have underlying a complete different underlying set of motivations and set of underlying truths. Um, like Peridot, you might think, oh, Peridot's not rational. She's worshiping Yellow Diamond for no reason. But she is. She is completely rational. She's just founded on the foundation that Yellow Diamond is right. Like rationality, like the truth is subjective. So her truths are different from our founding truth.
I mean, it's like why people think they're rational when like another person be like, "You're not rational," because
Right.
it's
Well,
based.
and
It's
it's
completely
possible that the
subjective.
person is actually not being rational. It's not. I'm not saying everyone is instantly rational.
Yeah.
Most people are very not rational, but I think Peridot is very rational, right? Like I think we'd have a tendency to say, oh, Peridot's being a hypocrite. She's not
Well,
rational. Like I
well,
don't
what
think
I
that's what
was
the show is saying.
yeah, but what I was saying was that like it's going to be a breakdown of like their authority. Like they worship them because they see them as these super rational. Like they know better, but in actuality they don't. And it's like that's what I meant. Like it's like how it's how we topple governments here. Like it's how we like that's how we have broken down society forever is because we're like actually what you're saying doesn't make sense. Bye.
So it's like, yeah, that's the once Peridot was able. So it's like, okay, one of the questions. I mean, this we don't need to get into this too much now. But one of the questions was like, oh, will the Gem Society be capable of toppling the diamonds? And you might think instantly yes, because Peridot clearly was able to overcome her base programming to. And I say base programming. Again, I'm not saying like everyone's programmed. That's what our DNA is. But her base, so her base programming to be deferential to her diamond. So Peridot was
Our
able to
default
overcome this.
setting.
Her default setting. So like it's like okay, the crystal gems go to the homeworld and they say they prove to everyone that the diamonds are wrong. And that they're being not completely rational and they're just having opinions. So I would say no, this would not work because, like we stated earlier, the only reason Peridot was able to even question her diamond is because she gained a sense of individuality.
Yeah.
So we would need to take the gems on the homeworld and place them on Earth first.
Or
And
inject, or like they could do something on
it's
Homeworld. It
yeah,
would just like
it's yeah.
depend.
Bring Earth to homeworld. That's another
Yeah.
option too. They need to develop senses of self in order to be capable of questioning this, right? So, I think that's what's so brilliant about Peridot's redemption arc is that we saw this sense of self um, so intricately built up. I mean, even in this episode, one of the best lines of the episode is, "It's like, how could you this the great and lovable Peridot?" And like the fact that she's capable of being like self-referential and stuff like that, like she thinks she's lovable, is that like is she needs to be she needs to be a person in order to like reference a perceived quality, right? That's such a thing that none of the other gems would ever say, right?
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
it's iRobot. Like it's the whole idea of like thinking of yourself as an individual and not like I'm just a robot.
Here's a I
Well, you
think
can't even. Well, the thing is, robots can't even think that they're a robot. They're just
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's thinking about this. It's interesting. I'm thinking of Lapis, and to me, Lapis feels a little like an individual. I'd have to go back and watch stuff though.
Well, Lapis is interesting because it's like Lapis was kind of like forced to become an individual, but she doesn't want to be.
Yeah, that's possible. That's what that arc is. I need to
Which I
rewatch
think
it.
is why it's that's why I think that's why everyone loves Lapis because Lapis really was like a new idea, like was a different flip on all our gems, and then of course Lapis did everything we didn't want her to do, but then she also did. So it was like Lapis, who are you?
Lapis seems like an individual coming out of the mirror to a certain extent.
Well, Lapis is like the reverse of Peridot. Like
It's like
Lapis,
there's we. I feel like at this point we have to have some big backstory for Lapis to like
yeah.
understand why she is the way she is.
Well,
Like
it's so
we're
interesting.
missing a big hole with her.
Granted, I mean, she got stuck in a mirror. I'd be kind of like, bye too. But like she is an individual, but she all she wants is to go back to Homeworld and like be back to what she understands. But then like with Peridot, like Steven is adorable and like has to be perfect. So like Steven like helps her out and like she loves Steven. And then that's why she ends up like saving everyone, but it's also but she also wants to be an individual. Like it's the same thing Peridot went through, but like it's a different side of it. Because Peridot went from being a normal homeworld gym to an individual, whereas Lapis was forced to become an individual, didn't really want to be, and wants to go back to homeworld, but then she still ends up like saving Steven and everyone.
That seems right. I would need to rewatch, but I still think we're missing. It's potential Lapis stuff on Earth before.
Well, this is the thing
Yeah,
we Lapis we know Peridot a lot better than we know Lapis.
yeah. So we'll see with this.
Yeah,
Jasper, interesting. Yeah, I think Jasper makes sense if you just think of her programming as being intimidating and being a fighter. I think everything she does
yeah.
kind of makes sense.
hmm
Um, cool.
She's kind of like the Ruby on crack. Like she's like Ruby on steroids.
Yeah, definitely. Let me quickly going over the outline. The whole beginning of the episode talked about the grade and level of Peridot. That's the best. I mean, I know I quoted the I think most important stuff, but there's so much stuff here.
I mean, also it's hilarious, like the child lock.
Yeah,
It's
I
really
love
funny.
later. Yeah, I love later. It's like, how did you get out of that? And she's like, I use logic. Haha. Yeah, it was great.
It's pretty great. I enjoyed
Um,
it.
I think the middle of this episode was a little awkward. I think we're focusing on the incredible, fascinating parts, but like the whole nicknaming stuff with Peridot, the like and eventually
I did enjoy Pterodactyl though.
Pterodactyl,
That's
eventually is
pretty good.
Parasnot. Um, I spent all that time bonding with you, like Steven being self-referential to what they're doing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and stuff. Once Yellow Diamond's on the screen, it seems it's this is one. It's hard to evaluate the content of what we saw when it's just also fascinating and new. That's how I felt about the end
Yeah.
of last episode. Um, let me read my attempted notes on the Yellow Diamond stuff to see if we're missing anything important. Um, yeah, Peridot lies and says that Peridot hides the presence of the gems.
I
Initially,
gasped.
yeah,
Like I was like, oh no. It
yeah.
was so good.
So it's like everyone thought, oh, she's going to contact Yellow Diamond and then she's just going to turn them in and she's going to completely betray it. But no, it was kind of like a half and half she was going for.
And it's just so great because we have this build up and she's like, no, I'm just being rational. Like, I have a great idea. But of course, we're just like, no, Peridot, because that's how it's been the entire show. But it turns out what Peridot was doing makes sense just to
Peridot's idea
Peridot.
was really good, actually. Yeah, and it like
Yeah.
completely makes sense with her being stuck in between two things.
Yeah. Like, what
And
Peridot
like
did makes complete sense.
and I can totally see it making complete sense to her too.
Yeah.
We talked about. And it's they almost other than the pod being sent to pick up Peridot, which I guess they could have destroyed, but like they could have gotten away with that kind of. I don't
Yeah.
know. I guess she lost track of Peridot anyway, so
Yeah.
it would have been better to not contact her because you'd have just forgotten.
Well, like they're talking about like what happened to your ship. Like, did we just miss this giant explosion? Like, do they not really? They clearly like. It's kind of interesting how much autonomy they give the gyms, even though like the gyms. I mean, it makes sense if you've programmed something to do a certain thing. You
You're
don't
just
really
going to
fear.
assume it's going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it
you don't
makes
really have
complete
a
sense. Yeah,
concern. Then I don't know. Like we keep talking about, they're not individuals, but then like Peridot doesn't get like reamed out for like it's more of like you suck. Like you can't do anything right. You're the worst.
yeah, which I guess is the ultimate like punishment, right?
Yeah.
Is
But I don't know. Like it's really what's interesting about this is like we're dealing with this, but that's not how they approach it. If that makes sense. Like in world, that's not how they talk about it. That's not how they're treated. It's just like
yeah.
you suck. And it's interesting.
Paradise says, I believe we should terminate the cluster. unique resources on Earth without disrupting local. I don't care about potential resources. I want my cholesterol on the planet to die. Yeah, I said that. Question: Are you questioning my authority? Yeah. Questioning your objectivity. Puny thoughts of a Peridot. Only chance to redeem yourself is to obey this simple order. That will take immense satisfaction. Um, I can tell you with certainty there are things on this planet worth protecting, said Peridot, kind of referencing the question that yesterday's episode posited about with Steven's song. So yeah, we just Peridot's relationships coming into play there that have
Like
been
she's
built
such
up.
a reluctant hero, and it's
Yeah,
great.
she definitely that is a good description of her in this one. What do you know about her? Apparently more than you, Claude. We didn't even talk about her calling her a
I
Claude.
know. Oh my god, that was like the biggest. I freaked out.
Have we been building up to anything more than Peridot calling Yellow Diamond a Claude? I feel like that's the ultimate
Like,
build up in television
like
history.
Peridot is now has completed her transformation. She called Yellow Diamond a Claude.
Yeah, it's happening, and Steven's happy. Per,
And the shocked look on Yellow Diamond's face.
yeah,
Like,
which makes sense. Like, yeah,
well, it's just so funny because Claude is so, like, no one calls anybody Claude. It's hilarious. It's
I,
just Peridot. But then,
is it Peridot or is that like an ultimate insult in Gem
like,
Homeworld? I don't
I'm
know.
assuming on Homeworld it's kind of a bad thing, but it's just so funny because for us it's only Peridot.
Yeah. Um, the detonating the communicator. I thought I could reason with her, says Peridot, and then you insulted her to her face. I am a traitor to my own world and the crystal gem, whether you like it or not. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And then, can someone take this? Why?
Yeah.
It can be remotely detonated.
Yeah.
And they play hot potato with it. Like, what?
Okay.
I
So
just really enjoyed the really casual, like, can someone take this away from me? It can be remotely detonated. Like, it's so Peridot.
yeah, attempts to evaluate this episode without freaking out. I mean, it's impossible at this point, but
Yeah,
like
no.
I think the Parademption stuff was incredible, but of course it's not all about this episode, right? Like this is a long arc. So if you're evaluating this episode independently,
Yeah, it's
uh,
like the culmination of everything that is Peridot.
I feel like the beginning was good, and when Yellow Diamond got on the screen, it was really good. And then there's some awkward dialogue and some. I'm not in love with the character models as much on this one as
And
other
of course, we
people.
might go back, like a year from now, and we're like, this episode isn't that great. It's just like we watched it and it's new information. But that's why we watch shows in episodic format. So
This is certainly very exciting and fulfilling. The way it functions as an
yeah,
individual
so
episode,
great.
I have tried to train myself to do these evaluations on the fly, and I think that this one is pretty good, but not incredible.
Yeah.
So, um, kind of the same as yesterday's. Although I think the first 3 minutes of yesterday's are just so great. I watched it like 2 more times, and it was always still great. But yeah, like this is how much info have we just gotten in the past? It's like the answer yesterday, this time, and then the two before the hiatus.
And it's
Where
like so many subtle lines of like new
this
information.
episode, I feel like went back to the subtle, even though we see Yellow Diamond like straight up. It's not like I feel like
Yeah.
the last episode is definitely the one that's been the most like shoving stuff in our face, and this one like goes even like I know we see Yellow Diamond, but everything the stat that we establish about her and about what's happening with Peridot here is like very subtly done, and
Yeah,
I think
it's
it's
so
also
great.
incredible. Yeah.
And then and Pearl being like, not all pearls know each other, and it's so good.
Yeah. So
Also, this is now the third Pearl we've seen. Everyone's gonna
oh
flip
yeah, we didn't
out.
even talk about Yellow Pearl. Yeah.
So like we have Blue Pearl,
Yellow Pearl.
Yellow Pearl,
And what is our pearl, which I'm pretty sure is white pearl, but
yeah,
we'll
White
see.
Pearl.
I think it's white pearl. I don't think it's pink pearl.
Right.
Uh, yeah. So we have an episode. So even though I haven't gotten confirmation this is the mid-season finale, but like it was,
But it was.
yeah. So next, we still have an episode tomorrow though, because Cartoon Network's dumb,
Unless tomorrow's episode's like mind blowing or
which I
something.
doubt. But yeah.
Same.
Log date
Maybe it's not a new episode.
7/15/2. And we'll see. And by the way, people are like, "Oh, we're going on another hiatus after this. It's not on the schedule." You need to understand the Cartoon Network doesn't actually schedule their schedule until like a week before because they're idiotic. So I know
Yeah.
it doesn't say that there's not going to be a new one next Thursday right now. I know it says that there's not, but like they could change it at any point, and they probably will. I assume we're going to have weekly episodes again after this.
I don't know if I don't think it'll be immediately after this. Like I'll say maybe like a week or two and then we'll have it, but I don't know.
I mean, it could be.
I'm no expert.
I don't know why they wouldn't. Yes, Yellow Diamond is voiced by the very special guest star of stage and screen, the one and only Patty LuPone, says Ian JQ. Yeah, this is like the highest profile VA that the show's had. So.
Man.
People
Exciting.
hating on Yellow Diamond's neck, and Ian and Matt Burnett, depending it on Twitter. I'm seeing that stuff. Yodam has a really long neck, yeah. Okay, tell us what you thought of this analysis. I think we did a good job breaking down. I'm just very happy at the incredibly complex kind of plot arcs and world building that's going
Like
on.
Peridot is so flawless. Like
Yeah.
for being the lamest person, she's so flawless.
And this is probably going to end our extreme focus on Peridot, which I feel like was a huge risk this entire
Yes.
season.
But it definitely paid off
Definitely
somehow.
paid off here. I mean, I was very satisfied with the way this arc ended. And I think we will probably be moving on to I don't know what else. I don't know where we go from here. I mean, I saw the leak, so I kind of know where we're going from here.
I don't know.
I will not tell you that. Okay.
Delaney doesn't watch
Please
leaks.
don't look for that. The Cartoon Network put a 3-second clip of an episode that's not even airing this week. Like, oh my god, this is just the worst. Just the worst. Okay, thanks for listening. I'm Dylan Hysen, that's Delaney Stovall. You can find out more about this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can support us on patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, Shayna, Mitch Cordell, Beatrice, Nate, Andy, Jamie, and Rachel, aka Hannah Fever, Mitch Cordell, University Beach Exchange, Buzz Egger, Mailman, and Rachel Rose. Back tomorrow to discuss the next episode, and I know we didn't cover everything. I think we got a lot done for what we could here.
We got super theoretical today, and it's fine.
Yeah, which is the tends to happen with me and Delaney, but cool. So let us know what you thought. Overlyanimated.com. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.